Hello, I'm Leslie from Soil and Soul, and welcome to my little Aussie backyard garden. I thought this week I'd just do a little quiet tour of my autumn garden. Last week, at the end of last week, I think I really pushed it and did myself some damage because I worked for 3 mornings, did about 13 hours over the 3 mornings because I knew it was going to rain, and I had to finish a contract for some online coursework by Tuesday. So I kind of pushed to get it all done, and this week I've just been doing some quiet things, but I really want to show you this to start with. So here are our 2 raised garden beds, and this side is the position that I've placed the asparagus in. Oh gee, they're growing beautifully, absolutely beautifully. A few bullies in here, so there's this one. I probably have to repot it, and Fred can take it up to the bowling club to give away. So I've got to pull a few of these bullies out because they're going to take the nutrition away. But this side I haven't got set up yet, but I've let this grow. Isn't this just beautiful? There's so much life coming to visit these flower heads. I can't believe how helpful this has been in the garden. I must make a mental note to get some of the seeds and cuttings, try some cuttings and get them growing. So today I really just want to start off by taking you for a little walk around the garden, some pretty little things that are happening, and some new growth, and share some plans with you. So come on, let's go for a walk. So the wisteria is starting to drop its leaves. I'm just really loving the way this corner garden has settled. It's been barely 18 months since we've pulled up the grass around the side of the house and turned this area into our veggie patch. So pleased with the way everything's come together. There's rocket, we've got leeks, I've got flowers and irises. What have we got here? Oh, that's right, we've got all of these spinach and chard under my pest-free nets. About 12 months ago I purchased a set of these pest-free nets from Aussie Gardener, and they've been fabulous, and we just make sure that our plants that need extra protection sit within that footprint. The kits come in 2 different sizes, but I've actually trimmed them and adapted them to the sizes I need for the garden. Here's some kale, and what have I got in there? Oh, that's right, I remember putting in some spinach, and I'm trying out a cauliflower. So wish me luck. I don't have any affiliation with the Aussie Gardener store, but if you're in Australia and you're looking for some simple pest-free screens that you can purchase online, look, I'm going to put the link in the description below. With the offcuts, I've made some short screens, and they're just great for these little pak choi seedlings and other Chinese vegetables that we're trying to grow, and we don't want to share with the snails just yet. These past few weeks, when we've had a bit of rain, this warrigal spinach has just taken off, and we've been having it nearly every night in our meals. Once upon a time, I grew a little bit of mint in this garden along the back veranda. So instead of trying to engage in a losing battle, I purchased some of these felt pots. Actually, I think I got them from the Aussie Gardener store as well, so they're getting a really good plug today. Without having to remove any of these wandering vines and mint, the garlic, the shallots, the leeks, and my zucchini plants are just thriving in this environment. I've only got a few lettuce left, so I've added some more seeds in there this morning. Not good at succession planting, but I'm learning. And we've had quite a few volunteer tomato plants coming up, so I've been putting them into some safe places to get a nice surprise. There's a lovely big sunflower here that is supervising the growth of all of these little tomato plants. On the topic of sunflowers, this beauty has been attracting a lot of bees, and I've been putting some of the photos on my Instagram stories and reels, so go and check it out and see some of the activity that has been happening in my garden. And the purple bean seeds have established themselves in the garden. Oh, they are here to stay. They're looking really healthy. I suppose we've got about 12 or 16 in this little patch near the fence. I've been giving these seeds a really good start by using the toilet roll cylinders, and I've posted quite a lot on my Instagram channel, so have a look at some of the seeds that I've been starting this way. Look at the root system on that. I mean, they just can't fail. Look, they've even coming through the bottom of the pot. Moving on past those beans, I want to show you these two surprises. All my tomato plants were dying back, so I cut them off at the base, and I thought the roots would just stay in the ground and rot down. But these two shot again. And it looks like we've got another red tomato coming on, and here's this purple Russian tomato, really sweet. So I'm getting a second season out of these two plants. One of the jobs that I've been meaning to do is to fix the paths between each of the plots. Last year I collected some of the bricks around the yard and I created these little paths, but it became increasingly dangerous as the bricks began to move. I saw this great idea to use cardboard, wet it down and then add mulch to it. So this is a great way to add more mulch to the garden, and it was a much safer way for me to be able to walk. And of course moving mulch and cardboard is much easier than moving bricks. And now that it was cooler, I could get out and lay a pathway of cardboard. Not only was it much easier to lay than the bricks, but it was much easier to walk on, and I'm sure the worms are going to love it as well. Once all the cardboard was down and overlapped, and I watered it down a little bit before I loaded the pathway with tea tree mulch. Then all I needed to do was just spread it out by hand. Now it's much safer to walk through this middle patch to get to the back of the garden. Then I just watered it in and it's really compacting down nicely. The next task I undertook was a lot bigger than I really anticipated. So I had a look at the condition of the indoor plants, and some of them, this one in particular, had dried out a lot. And then I looked at some of the others and, you know, their leaves were discoloured and they were wet and sodden. And then I went into the bathroom and had a look, and the scene got a lot worse. In fact, that's telling. So what I'm hoping to do today is to make a mixture of some potting mix and some coir and maybe a little bit of vermiculite to try and bring my indoor pots back to life. I don't think it's the right time. Auntie Google says that it should have been done a few weeks ago, but they're not looking real good. So let's get on to that job. And just as a disclaimer, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just experimenting, so please don't think this is a tutorial. Let's get on with it. So the first step is to get them out and try and ease them out of these pots and see what I can do to help them recover. They all prove to be root bound and pretty difficult to get out, and there they are. Look, I just really needed to tease all of that apart. And the best thing to do is get all of that extra soil and put it on the grass. The bottom of this pot had like a wicking bed and it had a whole lot of stones in it. I must have thought that might have helped with some of the drainage. My final goal was to be able to spread all of this out on the grass so it would help mulch the grass, but then I realised I'd made a mistake, because if my husband came along and started mowing, we'd all be shot with this shrapnel. So I collected it all and took it around to all the bee watering stations to add a little bit more nutrients to each one of them. I think there's another one over here, and yeah, there it is, and I can just get some more into that tray. Each of the plants really needed a good shaking out of that old soil, loosen up the roots a little bit. I needed to create a kind of a rest station for the plants. So I put some water in the bottom of one of my big black tubs, and so when I took the plants out of those pots, they had somewhere to rest, to get over the shock of being, ripped apart. And I added a little bit of my liquid plant fertiliser, just enough to make the water the colour of a very weak tea. After I removed the plants from their pot, I placed it in this liquid plant fertiliser mix. As I said earlier, look, really this is not a tutorial, but this is a mix that's been really helpful for my potted plants. So I use a very cheap potting mix, and I mix it with a couple of other ingredients. So in goes a little bit of the Koya mix that I've hydrated last week, as well as 2 handfuls of vermiculite. And then all this really needs to have now is a little bit of a mix through, but there is still something missing. So I need to get this mix around the other side of the garden, around the back where I've got 2 worm farms, and we're just loving its products. And here they are, they're tucked away here underneath the lily pilly tree. And I've been keeping this cover on and keeping it wet during the warmer months. Let's see what we can find. So now that I've taken the top layer off, down here in the second layer is all the worm castings. I just need to scrape off the top layer, bring it towards me, because hopefully all the worm eggs are in that area. So I just got to bring that to one side. And now I can dig into all of this goodness and add it to my potting mix. And hopefully this mix is going to sustain those pot plants, and really not only sustain them, but of course revive them. And down here are 2 buckets of the liquid over the last 2 weeks that I've collected, and I'll just put this cover back on again because I just like to keep them protected. So using the wheelbarrow really as a new potting bench, I'm just going to add the plants back into their pots and press all this wonderful goodness around the roots. Some of those leaves really need to be trimmed out, so I'm going to do that now, and I've been placing them here in this box. I just love reusing items around the yard, and this is a great little storage container for these offcut leaves so I can put them in the compost. Our friend Richard made these boxes for me, and they're offcuts from some decking, but they're great as little storage containers and also for my punnets. Hey, back on task again. These really need a little shower of water to settle them down, and I need to find a place out of this wind to let them settle this afternoon. It's still pretty windy here, and I put them between 2 of my chairs, and I think this will be a good place for them to be under the wisteria and the pergola just for a few hours. Now, to quickly clean up this potting area, here's all the remainder of the potting soil. I'm going to rake it out over the grass. I just have to check and make sure none of those pebbles are still in the grass. Last little job here is let's water it all in. And this grass is just going to be so happy to have some new soil on top. When I finish this little cleanup, I want to take you around to the northern side of our yard. It's looking really pretty at the moment. Come on through the gate here and let's have a look at the Geisha Girl and some of the other plants that are flowering at the moment. We've got 3 Geisha Girls around the side of the yard here, and they are in full bloom, and the bees are just loving it. And what we love is when the petals drop, they drop all through the wood chip. So we've got a really soft, pretty purple path to walk on, to walk around to the side gate. The gum tree outside the gate here is in full flower. It is beautiful, and I'm so excited to see the flowers have inspired one of our family members who is an amazing artist, Robin Jackson. I'm going to leave the link to her art channel below, and she has painted a beautiful silk painting of these pink buds. But all good things come to an end, and I better get around the back and clean up. So it has been a little bit of a quiet time, and at the moment what I'm doing here is just getting some of my pots stacked and packed away in this container so I can get them away into the garage. I don't know, it just seems to have an extra half an hour or so after gardening just to clean up. I have been using my liquid plant fertiliser, and there are some empty containers there I'll need to wash out and start again. There's my hoard of liquid plant fertiliser. Really pleased about that. And let's see what's cooking in here. Some more coming on. Over here I've been developing a little corner of plants. There's the stinging nettle. I'm in the way of the bees here. They're just bashing me around because I'm in their flight path. But over there I've got some comfrey, the stinging nettle. There we're going in the liquid plant fertiliser, and I'm trying this pigeon pea. Apparently it's very good for composting and liquid plant fertiliser, so I've got 2 growing there. Very happy with that. Anyway, I've got to keep going, and by the looks of some of these tools it looks like I need to do a bit of cleaning as well. But this old Sulo bin is just really great to store all of my stakes and a few slots for my hand tools. Yep, that one needs cleaning too. I'll just get this rake away behind the door, and then I can start hosing down the rest of the equipment. I bought this trolley cart a couple of months ago, and it's been so helpful to lug soil and pot plants all around the yard. Last month we bought this retractable hose, and my husband put it up high on the wall, and it's really great because I can just get over the fence to it, and just to make sure that it's put away really well, I try and hose it all down, get all that rubbish off it so it'll retract away. Okay, I think everything's put away. I'll make sure the water's turned off. Both hoses can be turned off there, and then I'll turn the hose off here. And that's a wrap. So boots off and put them away, and also get the jacket hung up in the laundry. The last job I try to get done on the same day is to collect my images from the cameras and get them onto the computer and then back them up onto my garden hard drive. Oh, quick update. A few days later, the plants were brought inside and they are looking much healthier. I've got 2 planter troughs out on the side patio, and they're quite healthy. And I thought it might be a really good environment to put this 3rd pot plant in because it's still not looking really good. Let's hope we can revive it over the next couple of days. Just wanted to share with you the competition I had while I was filming today's video. So there was a lot more sound editing in this video because I'm competing with the zombie BA across the road that's coming to life, as you can hear. Well, that's all for me this week. So glad you popped along. Next week I want to show you what's been happening with our new beehive. So until then, happy gardening.